Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Annual ICPHSO Symposium Orientation and Buddy Program webinar. We have people signing in rapidly, but we are going to go ahead and begin because we value your time. We want to make sure that we're making the most of the time slot we've got allocated. A couple of notes before we begin. This session is being recorded. So hopefully that is not a problem for any of you, but it is being recorded and will be made available on the website for future reference. If you have questions today that you would like to ask during the course of the webinar, please enter them during the chat or through the chat function. We'll see those and we'll direct those to the appropriate panelists. I also want to give a hearty thank you to Matt Gigg, Luke Shires, and Chris Harvey from Sedgwick for hosting this webinar and making available to ICPHSO all of the services they do. So without further ado, if we can go to the next slide, I'll go ahead and introduce our panelists for today. First up, we have Mike Gentine. Mike is going to be talking about the general orientation and talking about what to expect at this ICPHSO. He is counsel at Arnold and Porter. We also have Kristen Cords and Brian Groeschel. All three are board members. Kristen is sometimes called the Bitter Gal, aka VP of Business Development for Market Actives, which is the Bitrex company. And Brian is the Director of Product Safety and Quality at Bark, helping to make sure that all of your pets' toys are safe and does a great job there. He's also been instrumental with the ASTM committee in getting the first pet toy standard created. We are going to start with some general introductions. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike. Mike, if you can just spend a couple of minutes talking about how you first got involved with ICPHSO and what it means to you.
Yeah, so thanks, David. Thanks, Kristen and Brian, for joining, Matt and the Sedgwick team, as you said, for putting this together and making the logistics work. Yeah, so my involvement with ICPHSO spans now an embarrassing 12 years, with 1 year gap in between. I think I've attended every annual meeting since 2013. So it's been a nice run, and I can't say enough about how impactful, how meaningful, not only the organization, but of course any organization is only as good as the people in it. And ICPHSO is very fortunate to have wonderful people from across all of the stakeholder communities in product safety. Yourself, David, Kristen, Brian, certainly among those. I got started when I was actually working for a CPSC commissioner, Nancy Nord, who was also herself very active in ICPHSO for quite a while. Now mostly is active with her pottery, which if you ever get to see it, she makes some impressive stuff. Anyway, so I started showing up and was in the same situation that all of our first timers today are in, and looking for where was going to be my fit? What was I going to be able to do? Obviously I bring a perspective as an attorney, as a public policy professional, but my background had not been in safety, and I think that's going to be something that you'll find is very true of a lot of us. So I just showed up and started looking for places to pitch in. And I'm going to preview a little bit of my preview of the program by saying, if you can get down by Sunday, and I understand that's a chore. We don't want to take people away from their families on the weekends. If you can get down by Sunday and you can pitch in on bag stuffing, A, you'll be very, very much appreciated. And B, that is, I find, the best opportunity to get to know all of us, sort of ICPHSO hardcore loyalists as people, and not just as the professionals we all are. So David, if there's anything more you want me to explore about, background and getting started, I'm happy to, but I also don't want to hog the mic.
Thank you, Mike. And I will just toss in there, since you mentioned the bag stuffing. For those of you who are counting, we are 34 days away from bag stuffing. So still time to make your travel plans if you have not. And with that, I also want to mention, if you have not yet finalized your travel plans, we do have a very full week of programming, including a pretty packed and impactful Thursday. In the past, some people have left on Thursday morning or even Wednesday evening. We went out of our way to build a really strong program on Thursday so you could get the most value for your registration dollar. And I encourage you to stay through the end of the program on Thursday afternoon. Kristen, I'll turn it over to you. Can you talk about how you got involved with ICPHSO?
Yes, thanks, David. So I actually got involved with ICPHSO from another meeting. We do a lot in the cleaning product space, and I was at the trade association meeting for the American Cleaning Institute, and another one of my colleagues that I have interacted with there was like, have you heard about this thing called ICPHSO? And I had no idea what it was. I had never heard of it. So I went online and looked it up, and she had said, this might be a good fit for you because that's what y'all do. Like, Bittrex does product safety all the time. And so I looked it up, and I went to my company owner and said, hey, this annual meeting for this organization that we've been recommended to is happening in Florida in 3 weeks. And we were in Orlando at the time because that's where that conference is held. And he was like, okay, I guess you're coming back to Florida. And that was, 2018 was my first conference. And so it was very much a, jump right into the deep end of things. I remember being very overwhelmed in the best way possible when I walked into ICPHSO, because it is a great conference, but so many people seem to know each other. And it was like, I have walked into a very interesting world, but I think these might be my people. And and ever since, I think I've been to all the annual conferences and some of the regional meetings. I even managed to make it over to one of the internationals, which was exciting. And so, it's been almost 7 years now. But yeah, it's been a fantastic journey.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. And Brian, last but not least, to you. Same question.
So I first heard about ICPHSO in 2015. Interestingly, I was interviewing for a job, and they had their outside safety consultant interview me. His name was David Schmelzer. He was director of compliance at the CPSC for a very long time. Also one of the founding members of ICPHSO. But in this interview, I want to say he spent at least 5 minutes talking about ICPHSO and telling me how I should become a member and join and get more involved. And, it's funny to be interviewing for a job and have them, go off on a tangent about this organization. But, it stuck with me. A year later, I went to my first one. I've been going every year ever since. And I would say what it means to me is, I've spent most of my career with manufacturers, and, it's hard to talk about some things with, other people in your company. Because if I try to talk to a designer about the complexities of designing a chemical management program, I mean, it'll just go in one ear and out the other. So for me, it was really about finding this community where I could talk about these things that I have nobody else to talk about. And I think that's the biggest benefit to me, is I get to talk about my challenges and have, open dialogue with other people who are going through the exact same thing. So I find it really valuable to connect with like people, and yeah, and help get ideas on how to do your job better.
Thank you, Brian. All right. So you've gotten a bit of the background of our panelists. A reminder, if you have questions that you would like answered about what we're hearing today, or general logistics questions about registering or the conference itself, please enter those in the chat. And we will now turn it over to Mike to give a overview of what you can expect at this year's conference, and a preview of what the first timers and DEI lunch will be like on Monday.
Hey, thanks,
Mike?
David, and always love to hear everybody's origin stories. I think it's telling how many different paths folks have taken to lead us to this great organization. And obviously, I hope all the first timers that are on the line today will be in our shoes in years to come. So, as David mentioned, and as I previewed, we do start with bag stuffing on Sunday, and I'm underscoring that because I think, you know, if you are a first timer, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. In fact, you know, I'm not even close to a first timer, and I still feel overwhelmed every year at ICPHSO. That's in part because there's some kind of synergy where the emails start pouring in avalanches as soon as I have something else to do. I'm sure that's going to be your experience too. But it's also just I think a sign of how robust this community is, how active it is, and as a result, how much great content and great conversations we have. But you know, as I mentioned, the bag stuffing thing, I know it sounds sort of silly and lightweight. It's not at all. First of all, it's essential because you're putting together packets of materials that are provided by the sponsors of ICPHSO, without which these events wouldn't be possible at all. So you are, in a very meaningful and practical, tangible way, you know, contributing to the function of the organization. But as I said, it's a great opportunity to just talk with people as people. For the most part, people are flying in on Sunday morning, you know, midday, Sunday, whatever, coming straight from the airport, get into the conference room and start putting papers in bags, or start putting mints in bags, or whatever it is. I have to warn you, I know it's odd for a product safety thing. You will get a paper cut at bag stuffing. It's just the way it's going to be. Accept it now, badge of honor. But it's, you know, it's an opportunity where we're not generally talking shop there. Because again, it's a travel day. We're all stressy. We're ready to just sort of decompress. And so if you're looking for an opportunity, you know, there's going to be hundreds of people at this conference, most of whom obviously you won't have met before. And so it can be very intimidating in a room that big, in a corridor that big. The exhibitor space is just going to be mobbed. It can be very intimidating to try to go up and start conversations with people. You know, my fellow introverts, I'm sure, can relate that we don't like to bother anybody. We don't like to just show up and start talking at somebody. It feels presumptuous, so we don't do it. Um, Bag stuffing is a great opportunity to get past all of that, because one, you've got something, you know, a nice, simple, mundane task in front of you, but that sort of frees up the rest of your brain to just relax and connect with people and engage at a personal level. So I can't emphasize that enough. It's not just because I want more people there to share the workload, so I have fewer paper cuts. I will admit there is that ulterior motive. But at the same time, again, I think it's a great opportunity to start getting your feet wet in a very personal, down to earth sort of manner. Then you've obviously got the rest of your Sunday free to get some dinner, enjoy the grounds at the Grand Cypress. Fair warning, whether you're arriving Sunday, whenever you're arriving, one thing you're going to note at the Grand Cypress, actually two things. One, it's a wonderful property. They're a very gracious host to us every time we're there. The second thing you're going to notice is a parrot. I think it's actually technically a macaw. His name is Merlot. He is bright red. He can be loud. Isn't always. He's actually usually pretty chill up there on his perch. But right in the lobby, just behind you as you're signing at the registration desk, there's Merlot. So be prepared for that. Again, if you come in on Sunday, if you're coming in Monday, whenever, I do think for this group, it is important to note, as David mentioned, we do have 1 o'clock on Monday, the first timers and new attendees luncheon and discussion and belonging session. And that's a joint effort from the board as a whole. Chris and I are going to be happy to be hosting that session again, but also the DEI committee of the board, because obviously people are coming to a new thing from a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different backgrounds, and it's important to us as a group to welcome all of that, to make sure everybody has a seat at the table, has a voice, not only because it's just the right thing to do, but it makes the organization healthier. And I have a fairly strong opinion that bringing together diverse perspectives, diverse viewpoints is essential to product safety because it reduces the chances that we'll have a miss just because everybody thinks the same. I should mention before I get carried away with the first timers luncheon, that'll be my prerogative. We do also have some associated meetings if you're affiliated with any of the associated groups, AHAM, RELA, et cetera. Those are going to be invite only, but depending on the organization you're coming from, you may have that on your schedule. We also start up on Monday with some of our sponsored satellite sessions. Again, the sponsors are essential to making ICPHSO happen, to making it accessible for as many people as possible. Would encourage you to visit those sessions, not only to sort of show your gratitude with your feet, but also because the groups, the sponsors that host those usually churn out some very good information. And again, it's another opportunity in a smaller setting to start putting some names with faces and identifying the people you want to make a point of connecting with throughout the week. We'll then do the first timer new attendees lunch and discussion, and then after that, the signal gun goes off, and we all get started with a great party. We've got some plenary sessions, some breakouts, et cetera, throughout the day, and then that'll carry throughout the week. I mentioned that the one thing you'll be, and David mentioned that as well, you'll be overwhelmed. There's no way around that. And I think the best you can do is not stress over that. Whether it's a scheduling issue with two panels being on at the same time, or that conference call you just can't skip, or whatever it is, you're going to miss something that you really wanted to hear. The good news is we are, again, fortunate as a group to have really an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the quality and the breadth of speakers and presentations and topics we have every year at ICPHSO. I've been on the planning committee several years in a row now, and you cannot fathom how difficult it is to winnow this down to what is already a very large agenda. We've left some things on the cutting room floor that is just heartbreaking. But that does mean that even if you miss something that you wanted to attend, you're going to have the opportunity to hear somebody really capable and really engaging talk about something of interest to you. It's sort of like Disney World. I guess it's appropriate since we're going to be in Orlando. Trying to do it all is just setting yourself up for stress. I think identify your musts and triage it from there, and hit up everything you can. Again, recognizing that you can't hold yourself to a perfect standard because it doesn't exist. Just some other things I want to highlight on the agenda. Obviously, I'm not going to highlight any particular speakers because, again, they're all good. Go to all of them. I would say the morning activities, the walks and things we do, again, another opportunity in a small group setting outside of the strictly professional environment to meet up with some people. In addition to the schedule, the overwhelming part can be just the number of people here, the number of new faces you're going to see, and any opportunity you can get to get a slice of those, to have somebody who, you meet them at a walk on Tuesday, and then you're hanging out in the exhibitor space Wednesday afternoon. They go by, you say hi. It's a new face, but a familiar face at that point. Building that network slowly but surely, that sort of accretive approach to networking is definitely a recommendation. We've got, again, fantastic speakers throughout, fantastic keynote speakers. And again, I want to emphasize you're not going to hit everything, but make sure you identify the things that you want to make sure you hear, and then the people you want to make sure you hear from before you leave. And again, the exhibitor space is another of those great opportunities to meet people where they are. You may identify a company you'd like to work with, if it's a vendor, if it's a service provider. Maybe a company you want to work for and you want to start laying some groundwork. I'm not encouraging anybody to sort of multitask in that way in this session, but certainly it's something that's on the table if that's where you want to go. So the exhibitor space, walk around, see what's going on, ask people what they do. We are all very eager to talk to you about what it is we do in this niche little world of product safety. And as David said, we've done just a fantastic job of loading up, a program that runs throughout. You're going to want to run through the tape on this one. So I know it's obviously a lot, certainly with challenging budget environments to get approval to travel at all. So as David said, get the most out of it. Show up early on Sunday, put some things in some bags, hang out with us throughout the week. Again, make some new friends, build some new relationships, some new connections. Hang through on Thursday because that's it's a very, I won't say backloaded because the front's pretty good too, but that Thursday program is as good as it's ever been and is certainly something that you won't want to miss. David, what am I missing in terms of just the practical of how people should approach this?
So, Mike, can you talk about, you talked about what a great program it is and you should plan. How do you go about looking up what's on the program?
Great question. Great question. So if you go to the ICPHSO website, there will be a link in a pull-down menu from the top. The pull-down menu starts with, I'm getting back up, conferences. Then you'll see it's not really a pull out, it's a pull side menu, I guess, for the annual meeting. You can go to that main page, or you can click the now third link down is program information. And that will eventually take you to a very much live event schedule. It's a program, a platform where you can create your own account, and that will allow you to build an agenda, build your own itinerary of things you're going to attend. So as you scroll down the list, you see topics you want to hear about, you see people you want to hear from, you can start clicking and clicking and clicking and getting those into your schedule. So it's no longer a question of wading through the entire thing, because again, it can be overwhelming and figuring out in the moment what you want. But you can build a plan for yourself so that that part is squared away and you can focus on the substance. You can focus on the people and on the discussions. I will say, and I'll also add to that, there is an app. It is going to be a new for this year app where we have switched platforms. So there's only so much I could tell you about exactly how to navigate it because I haven't done so myself yet. But the content that's in there is invaluable. You'll get live updates. Obviously, we do our best to plan these things out months and months in advance, but sometimes things happen 5 minutes before it's supposed to start, and we have to shift some things around, whether it's locations, speakers, moving some scheduling pieces, what have you. So I would say definitely download the app, get that going, and build your schedule there as well. And then the ICPHSO will always put up banners essentially of the schedule. And that's very helpful. Again, there can be some changes there. So, maybe you go look at that at the beginning of each day. You look at the printed schedule just to sort of remind yourself, refresh yourself of what's going to be going on. But then keep an eye on the app as well, because that's where any live updates, any changes will be communicated.
Great, thanks, Mike. The other thing that I think is worth noting, we don't have obviously final numbers yet, but we are anticipating somewhere between 700 and 800 attendees. So think about a community of 700 to 800 product safety stakeholders, over half of whom are probably introverts. And this is a great opportunity or the hazard here is that you don't interact with everyone you possibly can. And there'll be round tables in the plenary room, big round tables for lunches, and that you can sit at for breakfast. Don't sit with the same people every time. Meet, you may have other people from your place of work or organization. Great, because then you can divide and conquer and cover some of the parallel concurrent sessions, but don't just stay with them throughout. Try to get to know as many people as possible. It is, as Mike mentioned, just a great opportunity to get different points of view And that's part of what ICPHSO is all about, is being a neutral meeting space for stakeholders from all areas of the product safety community. Mike, it looked like you were going to say something else.
No, I was just going to absolutely echo that about the breakout sessions, especially because I think this is probably about the fourth or fifth year we've made a point of having repeating sessions to try to give people more opportunities to hear, the specific things they're interested in. Still, it's going to be inevitable. I remember last year there were two, a back-to-back session of repeating breakouts where there were 4 sessions per window, and inevitably there were 3 I wanted to hear. And I am a lawyer, so math is not really my thing, but I do understand that, if there's 3 things I want to hear and only 2 opportunities to hear them, I'm going to miss one. So if you've got, whether it is multiple people from your organization or somebody you just have a relationship with elsewise, definitely divide and conquer, swap notes. This is all about a learning and sharing community. We're all trying to advance the ball on product safety wherever we're coming from. And so, I don't think there's going to be too much of a sort of turfy. I've never experienced a sort of turfy thing where people won't help you out and give you at least some flavor of what's going on in every room.
And to that, it's probably worth noting, we do not record the plenary sessions or the breakout sessions. And we intentionally do not record them because we're looking for as much candor and openness as possible. And we're worried that recording might be a little bit of a muzzle on some people or some organizations from saying what they want to say. The other thing, Mike mentioned the app. Within the app, there's the ability to ask questions of the panelists, and you can do so anonymously. And that also gives an opportunity to ask something that you might not be comfortable asking, but you'd really like to know the answer to. And
Yeah.
if you would like to know the answer to it, there's probably 200 or 300 other people in the room who are also wanting to ask that same question. So
Absolutely, and beyond connecting with the presenters during their sessions, which of course I absolutely endorse, you also have the opportunity through the app to connect with each other, to connect with fellow attendees or speakers if you like. So if you've got one of those back-to-back schedule things where you've got to go to the other breakout room, but there was a question you really wanted to ask, you wanted to be one of the people who goes up and has a sidebar with the speaker after, but you just had to go on. Use the app to connect, use the app to sort of to build those relationships, and set up a coffee. Go hang out with Merlot and drink some ice cold water in what will kind of technically still be heat because it is Florida after all, even in February. So use the app for all the things it provides, both scheduling updates, opportunities to engage in presentations, and connections with each other, your fellow attendees.
Yeah, and I was actually going to specifically mention the chat function because I've started using it in recent years. The first day that I arrive at the conference, or maybe before, I'll take a look through all of the attendees, and it has company, it has title, and I'll go through and I'll just add anybody that I'm interested in talking to. And last year I was able to find a handful of other pet product companies and was able to coordinate a lunch one of the days where we all got to sit at the same table and talk about everything dog safety. But yeah, sometimes walking into a group of people that are having an active discussion is a little bit unnerving. But I don't know, everybody is willing to speak with you no matter how high up they are in their company, and the chat is a great way to do that without being intimidated walking into a group of people.
And then the last sort of networking sort of thing I want to emphasize or at least bring up, there are some structured networking events, there are some receptions. Obviously, we've got the luncheons, et cetera. And I mentioned the walks in the mornings. For those of us who've got the stamina to stay up into the late hours, and that I know can be very, very difficult these days. The lobby area in the evenings at the Grand Cypress is another fantastic opportunity to just meet people where they are. We may be a bunch of product safety nerds, but we can kick up our heels with the best of them. So absolutely encourage folks to come hang out and chat about whatever. You will almost certainly get my opinion on, for example, the designated hitter. It's terrible. It shouldn't exist.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for that input as well, Brian. I'm going to do one more logistics thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to Brian and Kristen to talk about the brand new buddy program that we're kicking off this year. So the logistics thing is what to pack and how to pack. First off, we're business casual. You don't have to wear a bow tie like Mike, but if you want to wear a bow tie, you're welcome to. However, it is Florida. It is a hotel conference area. Wear layers because it will either be too hot or too cold, and you'll want to be able to adjust and be comfortable during the day. The other thing that I'd encourage is don't max out your suitcase on the way down because you're going to get swag to bring back, whether it's handouts, all the things that we're stuffing into the bags on the day of, on Sunday, or many of the exhibitors are also giving away things. You can pick up a few small part cylinders, for example, from various labs. And I'd encourage you to save some room in your suitcase for the things you're going to bring back with you that you did not bring to Orlando. With that, Brian and Kristen, you want to talk about our new buddy program?
Yes, thank you, David. I'm going to go ahead and start us off, and then Brian will cover the rest of the pieces. So Brian and I are part of a ad hoc working group that is really looking at how can we help first timers. As you've heard from both David and Mike, attending can be a little overwhelming the first time, sometimes even the first few times. Simply because of the sheer size and just so many things going on. And so we really wanted to find a way to help first timers feel like they almost had a lifeline, someone that they knew, even if they weren't coming with a company. So like I attended my very first one all by myself. And, you know, you walk in and you're like, I don't know who to talk to. I also highly echo David's suggestion of make sure at every meal you sit with a different group of people, because that is a great way to, you know, meet the most diverse group of people attending. And you may sit next to a lawyer that you had no idea that, you know, the lawyer might have the answer to the burning question you have, and it just comes up in, you know, random conversation. It's also a great way to learn the spectrum of who is involved in product safety, because we have so many stakeholders, whether, you know, they're consumer advocates or, you know, they're working for a nonprofit that really helps promote education, or they're a regulator or a legislator. Like, sometimes when we're at our individual company, we can be very siloed sometimes into all of the things that are product safety. And so it's a great opportunity to really kind of mix and match. And so with the buddy program, what we wanted to do was to pair people who are brand new first timers coming to ICPHSO with someone who is an experienced person coming to ICPHSO, so they can really serve as a guide to help them kind of navigate and really just kind of be that touch point of, I walk into this room and I know at least one person who I know I can ask for questions if I'm like, I'm trying to decide on which session I want to attend. And, you know, maybe you can ask your buddy or your guide, excuse me, for advice on which session would you go to. This is my goal of why I, you know, what I want to get out of it, and which one would you recommend going to? Or, you know, you've made your list like Brian does of like people you want to meet, and maybe they haven't responded to you in the chat yet, or you're just really kind of nervous about walking up to them and saying, hi, I am, which is totally understandable. As was noted, many people coming to ICPHSO are more on the shy, introverted side. And, you know, we want to make that as, you know, open, welcoming, and really give you that sense of belonging. And so you could go to your buddy and say, I would like to meet so-and-so. Could you help make an introduction? Or maybe you don't have a specific person. Like, you don't know the name of the person you want to meet, but you're like, I am looking to meet someone who does, we'll use Brian as example, someone who does, dog toy safety, and I have no idea who to talk to. And so your buddy would be like, oh, well, Brian Gross would be a great person to, for you to meet. Let me make an introduction for you. And so the idea is really that you have that someone. So if you are a first timer who has signed up to have someone to help you as a guide for ICPHSO, you will be paired with someone who is a more experienced person coming to ICPHSO. And so that then they can help make those connections for you. And I will go ahead and pass it over to Brian to talk a little bit about what the intention for the guides is, and then some of the benefits we're hoping will come out of this new program.
Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, and we've gotten a great pool of applicants to be guides so far, almost 100 people. And I didn't count, but if I had to estimate like the number of years in product safety across those people, it's probably over 1,000. I mean, we have some real product safety veterans that are volunteering to be guides, and we can kind of handpick from this pool, and we're looking for guides that are really eager to help somebody navigate one of their first conferences, somebody who can empathize with being at that first or second or third overwhelming conference, and somebody that can that has built a good network and can help you to meet the right people that the buddy wants to meet. So the expectations of the guides are really that they come in, they connect with their buddy before the conference, find a time to meet early on, and really get to listen and just learn about what their buddy wants to get out of the conference, and maybe give some recommendations on how to achieve it. Otherwise, it's really, connecting, briefly throughout the conference, maybe attending a session together, and then connecting at the end of the conference and kind of getting a download on how it went. Did they achieve what they were hoping to achieve? What went well? What didn't go well? And we think this will really help in a couple ways. It'll help forge some new relationships that might otherwise not have come to fruition without the buddy program. It can help some of the newer attendees to navigate, again, what can come off as an overwhelming conference with 800 people flocking around to different conferences and networking. And also really just to collect some meaningful feedback from the newer attendees, because we do want to learn and help make sure that we are, providing what people need in order to have a successful conference.
So,
David, is there any other questions you would have related to the buddy program we could tell people about?
so I think, one question for some of the folks on the program, on the call may be, is the buddy program different than the mentor program?
Yes, absolutely. So the mentor program, as it's set up, is specifically for students who are still in college, who are, looking to learn more about product safety, and they actually have like their own programming. But we wanted to make the buddy program not as maybe official as like a mentor relationship, because there are certain expectations. It's usually like a longer time frame. It can be career advice, it can be all sorts of things, but we wanted this to be something that was both easy for the guide as well as the person who is asking for a buddy, to really allow them it to be a little more casual and more of kind of a informal relationship, but still supportive of the people being guided, to be able to get the information they need.
Somebody has, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to add that, yeah, this program the buddy program is for people who've already either selected product safety as their career path or somehow ended up in here one way or another. So this is less about like navigating their career journey and career decisions, and more about navigating a conference and trying to get all the information and connections that they're trying to achieve.
If somebody has already registered and they didn't select that they wanted to be paired up with the buddy program, is it too late or can that be adjusted?
That can absolutely be adjusted. So we are working on the kind of initial pairings right now. But if we get additional registrations, registration is open till February 7th, if I have that date correct. And so if you were really interested or from this webinar are really interested in either finding someone to be your guide, or you're looking to guide, then absolutely reach out to ICPHSO and we can add you to that list and make sure that we get you a pairing.
Great, thank you. And I really do encourage those of you who might be new to the ICPHSO community to take advantage of this buddy program, particularly if, like me, you are on the introverted side of things. It is, or it can definitely be overwhelming, and having a guide to help navigate through your first conference can be really helpful. There's a question, can I get a buddy if this isn't my first time? I attend alone and still find it overwhelming and intimidating to meet new people.
Absolutely. This is not just for first-time attendees. This is for really anybody who wants somebody to help navigate the conference, whether it's first, second, third, fourth time. So if you did not click the checkbox, you can email info@icphso.org, and we can add you to the pairings that we're working on.
Thanks, Brian. I've also been reminded to let everybody on the call know that about a week before the conference begins, everyone who has registered will receive a know before you go email. So make sure you don't have emails from ICPHSO going into your spam, and look for that know before you go, because that will include things like instructions for downloading the app, which you're going to want to do before you get to Orlando. And you'll want to download it, make sure you've signed into the app, get the right conference selected. And as Brian mentioned, you can even begin starting to go through the attendees and select and try to make some of those connections before you ever set foot in Orlando. Any other questions from the audience? Give it just a moment for people to enter into the chat. If not, you can certainly reach out to Mike, Brian, Kristen, or myself if you have a follow-up question, or you can contact ICPHSO at info@icphso.org. I'd like to thank Brian, Mike, and Kristen for participating in this panel. And again, I'd like to thank Matt, Luke, and Chris from Sedgwick for hosting us today. Hope you all have a wonderful day. For any of you out in the Los Angeles area, our hearts go out to you. Please stay safe. And we look forward to seeing as many of you as possible in Orlando. Let's make this a record attendance this year. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. See you in February.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.